Everyone, quick disclaimer. I was an idiot and recorded the first half of this video with the music going on live. So there's a lot of cuts in this video, and the music's going to cut out for the first half of it. I apologize, but I don't want to re-record it because it would feel really staged and scripted and it would be weird. So we're going to deal with it. Sorry again for the first half of this video. After the first half of the video, I realized that and stopped playing the music so I could put the music in post so it would be more fluid. So again, I want to apologize. The music's going to sound very choppy, but we're going to deal with it. It's the first episode, I'm sorry. Hope you enjoy. Hey there YouTube, it's your boy Riley with Right Host Games. Now, it's been a while. I want to address that right now. I haven't uploaded to YouTube for almost a year now, and I just started streaming after like a 4-month hiatus. Now, I've been on and off streaming for almost 4 years now, but I really wanted to get serious with it. However, that's not what this video is about. I wanted to do something special on YouTube, and I see a lot of people out there who like to create. These people, they like to create, they like to make things and write about things, but they're a little misguided in the great steps in order to get there and to achieve those things. So I kind of wanted to make this little tutorial, guiding, helping experience for those who specifically want to, say, write a book or just any kind of story. Now let me be clear. This isn't a one fix for everything. I do not know the best way to write a book. I'm not even published. But I'm an English major. I've been studying this for about 5 years now, and I do know some great tips and tricks and general good things to do when writing. So I figured I can take this and we can work together and just kind of make a story. And if you guys are playing along at home, feel free to email me story ideas, or in the comments shoot down what you did that day, and let's just make this a community of making stuff. So let's pop right into it. Let me open. It's gonna get a little whited out, but Google Docs does not have a dark mode yet. So in the meantime, here we are. Now, this is probably one of the most intimidating. You know what? This is probably one of the most intimidating things to start. Is just start writing, and I understand that there's a lot of different issues some people have. Some people, there's too many ideas and they can't narrow it down. Some people can't think of any ideas, and it's hard to kind of get that. So, before we even start working on a skeleton of a story, I wanted to talk about ways to narrow down ideas and ways to really nail down what you want to write about. So, say hi to Casey. He's making an appearance. He's a good baby. My youngest kitten. I have 3. Today, day 1, I wanted to focus on getting an idea down and nailing down some specifics. Something I want to stress is nothing is ever set in stone. Never be afraid to write if you don't like it. If you write what you don't like, all that means is that you've improved so quickly that you can already pick out some issues with what you have. And then just do it again. Everything is a draft until it's published, and even then, people can republish. So never be afraid to write something that you might not like, because chances are, and I'm going to be brutally honest, you won't like it. I've got 13 drafts of the main story I'm working on right now, and I don't like the past 12 ones, and I'm lukewarm on the 13th one. It's gonna be a while until you write something and love it immediately, and if you do, hey, that's awesome. But just keep in mind, don't be afraid to write in case you won't like what you've written. So let's work on nailing down some ideas. We'll start with issue number 1. Too many ideas. This is a blessing of an issue to have. I understand it's a little overwhelming when you have so many thoughts going around in your head, but what I like to do is list them out and tournament them. So we're going to actually pop into a tournament maker. This is a little weird. You don't have to do it this way, but I think this is, in my opinion, the best way to do this kind of thing. So, story idea. Single elimination. Bracket size, use number of participants provided below. So I've got a main story I'm working on in the background right now, but I'm not going to use that for this. I want this to be a wholly new creation, so that way you guys at home can write with me. So let's just go down the list of some ideas I've been kicking around in the back of my head, because honestly, this is the issue I often suffer with as well, where I've just got too many things that I want to start and I can't really nail one down. Now, these are going to be very vague, and you don't have to start out the gate with the entire plot. Oftentimes, at least in my experience as well, a lot of plot points I don't have pre-planned. Now, that's not to say I don't know where I'm going with them. I'm not 100% on where I want to go with them. Okay, we're back. I had to make an account, and it used this photo. I don't know how it got that photo. I used my Discord to sign up for it. That's not linked to my Discord. That's like my LinkedIn photo. I don't know how it got that photo, but we're here anyway. Made the bracket. It's an odd number bracket, but whatever, we got there. Let's start in round 1. Ant without his colony. MC dies in Act 1. Ghost watches the family for Act 2 and 3. These two ideas I like a lot. Although I think the ant might be more interesting. How do I... Oh. Winner. Okay, cool. I was like, how the hell? I've never used this site before. I thought it'd be a lot more simple than this. It's made for, like, real tournaments. Alright, match number 2. Futuristic clone pageant show. Logs of a man stranded on a deserted island. Found in clutches of skeleton in the prologue. I think this would be more personally fun to write, so we will submit. Do that. Match 3, medieval comedy during the plague, medieval drama during the plague. I'm very happy these got linked together. That's pretty funny. I've always personally been better at writing comedy, and I think that has more potential to be very fun. Whereas writing a medieval drama about the plague is just gonna fucking depress me. Match 4. Deaf musician with a heavy emphasis on touch. Modern day D&D setting played by medieval knights. I think I'd have to do a lot of outside research for this, and while I still want to write it, I don't think this series would be the appropriate place to, because a lot of that is going to be doing research. So we're going to do this modern day D&D played by medieval knights. Classic fantasy, Ant Without His Colony. I think I'm going to push for Ant Without His Colony, because I already have a couple just fantasy stories on here. POV cult leader shifter fantasy. Now, I don't know if I explained this. This is based off a D&D character I had a while ago. But I think this would be a lot more interesting to write than the Logs of a Man Stranded. So we're going to go with that one for now. Match 7. Ant Without His Colony. Ant Without His Colony. Ant Without His Colony. There we go. Or medieval comedy during the plague. Ooh, this is a tough one. All of these ideas I'm going to write at some point. But I think Ant Without His Colony has a lot more interesting potential. So he's going to the final round. And then POV cult leader shifter, modern day D&D setting, played by medieval knights. Ooh, I'm going to go with cult leader for now. Oh, this is going to be a hard final choice. Ant Without His Colony, POV cult leader shifter. I don't know, I like them both a lot. So here's a tip I personally use a lot. I subscribe to the fact that even if you don't know what you want, your subconscious does. So, whenever I'm faced with a decision I'm not personally sure on, I flip a coin, I roll a dice. Either I take the result, or 9 times out of 10, when I flip the coin or roll the dice while it's still in the air, subconsciously I hope for one. And if that happens, regardless of the result, I go for that one. So let's see. 1, 2, 3 is Ant Without His Colony. 4, 5, 6, cult leader shifter. Alright, I did not. My brain went to both, but I rolled a 3. So we're going with the ant without his colony. And it's in that moment where my heart reached for POV Cult Leader. So that's the one we're going with. It's a little unorthodox, but it gets the job done. So we are announcing that as the winner. God, I wish it was a dark mode. I'm going to be a little whited out, like I said. So that is how to narrow down if you have too many ideas. Now, what if we come to a time where we don't have enough ideas? Now, this is a little bit trickier. We can't just make a tournament about it. If you can't think of anything to write, I suggest 2 things. 1, buy a notebook. It can be small, can be big, whatever. It can be this sized. It can be this sized. It can be a little notebook that you just keep in your pocket. It can even be just the notepad app on your phone. Whatever works. Something you can quickly grab and write down anytime. My other suggestion? Observe. Look around the world. Go on walks. Watch YouTube. Go on Twitter. Just look at the world. And eventually, something will grab you. Write it down. And do this for a week, a month, however long it takes until you've got a good list of ideas. And look at them and think, which one of these can I make something meaningful and memorable about? Which one of these can I expand? And then take that. But we already have our idea. So let's talk about starting. This is another place where a lot of people get cold feet. So, including myself, I've done it a lot of times. When I say a lot of people, keep in mind, I'm not perfect. I want to stress that. I'm not the be-all end-all. I'm not the authority on this. I am not perfect. This is what I've learned in my experience. And the mistakes that I still continue to make every day and how I continue to grow. My strategy is a little unorthodox. Personally, I find it difficult to skeleton out an entire story beginning to end. My style tends to create more drafts, but I think it helps the creative process to just go off. Of course, we're not going without a map, but instead of a planned direction route, I typically like to bring a compass. So let me get into this. When I write a story, the first thing I do is the draft sheet, which is what this is going to be, where I write down all the ideas I have right away, and then expand on the ones I can. So let's start a bullet point list. So the main story idea, now this is going to be a dark comedy. At least that's what I'm planning. Now again, nothing is set in stone here. I could start writing a dark comedy and find it's much more compelling as a drama. I could start writing a drama and find it's a lot more engaging as a dark comedy. The idea of this is to just write and see what happens. So the main story idea I'm starting with is it's the point of view of a shifter. For those of you who don't know, in Dungeons & Dragons and a few other fantasy genres, shifter refers to a werewolf-esque creature that shifts a part of the body. Now let me actually zoom in to make sure this is more easily readable. There we go. Who runs a cult for his god. Now, when I played this character in D&D about 3 years ago, he was chaotic evil, which the alignment essentially means he does bad for his own reasons and will do bad recklessly. However, the idea of him being a cult leader came about from the idea that I wanted him to be a very polite individual. As a character, he was very kind and very charismatic, which is where he becomes dangerous. Like most real-life cult leaders, he persuades you to join him with words before showing his full hand. Now, in this pantheon, I think I'm going to keep it because it works with the character well. His god is a god of decay. He believes the most divine right of a being is to decay after you're gone. So he does have a slight moral code where he's against necromancy. He doesn't like the artificial elongating of life. However, he is terrifying. He's a shifter. He can form change. One of the things he would do most is shift his face into the head of a wolf and eat people. So, this guy is not a good person. Our protagonist is going to be a bad person, which can be a challenge. But I think dark comedy is going to lend itself to this. So main story idea, point of view of a shifter. Let's talk about him. For now, he had a name and I liked it a lot. I don't remember it. For now, we're just going to call him Brother. Because I remember his brother something, and that was like his cult name. So let's go into these details. Now, somewhat southern is a weird one, because this is a fantasy setting. It is medieval. But something about his character really works well with that folksy southern charm accent. So I'm going to find a way to work that accent into the story. I don't care. It's my world, you know? But I think this is really good, a really good starting point to expand upon. Which is, again, that's the point of what I'm doing now. This isn't the skeleton of the story. These are the ideas I'm starting with, some of the places I want to go, and when we get into the draft, we're going to just walk our way there and get there. And whatever happens along the way, happens along the way. I think this is a really good way to get into writing that isn't as intimidating as having to set your structured plot, which does work for a lot of people. I'm not trying to devalue that. This is just what works for me and what might work for some of you. So we have the idea of the main character down, we have the main story idea. Let's take it some places. This looks bad, which is good. Again, dark comedy. So, the end goal of the character and what that means for everyone else. The idea with this story is that the main character and the narrator of this story is delusional. He is a cult leader. This character specifically, I want to be delusional, which is where a lot of the dark comedy elements are going to come from. So in his mind, his goal is to expand his cult to the biggest size possible, which I don't think he's ever going to refer to as a cult. It may be a following, it may be a pack, but to expand to the greatest size it can, and to worship his god above all else, and to live his life as his god decrees is good. And the one thing he's constantly going to refer to, which I don't think the card will be laid out to what that is. He might not even know until halfway, maybe later in the book. But what will be referred to as the zenith, which for those of you who don't know, is when something's at its most powerful. It's also when the sun is in the middle of the sky. It's a very, this is the big moment word. What that means for everyone else. Gaining followers for a scary cult. Killing those who oppose him. Let those he does kill rot, which again a big thing of his god's worship is decaying. But I don't want anyone, maybe not even him, to know what the zenith is. Now we will drop hints to the reader, but I don't think the main character or the other characters will know what the zenith refers to. In my mind, there's two possibilities for the zenith. Either everyone in the cult dies and then rots, or the cult becomes the population, where everyone in the entire world worships this god. Those are the only two outcomes I can think for this story. Now that we've got some goals, I think we've hit a good time for this first episode for figuring out what idea you want to work with and starting to structure out where you want to go with it. Next time, I think we're going to work on setting and some plot points that may come up. Still working in this draft document. But until next time, it's your boy Riley with Rye Toast. Keep writing. And if you are seeing this is the first episode. I doubt anyone's really going to see this. But if you're from the future, I hope that this and the continuing series will help you write to whatever you may want. If you're here now, send me what you wrote. Put in the comments some ideas you have. I stream on Twitch, like I said, about 3 to 4 times a week around dinner time. You can catch me there, link in the description. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time.